talk about another very, very important issue for both business and for educators, and that is high standards. Listen, the fact of the matter is, as the head of the chamber said, and you stated it very eloquently, and that is we are competing not just within North Carolina or with our neighbors in South Carolina and Tennessee and Virginia. We're competing globally. We're competing, every student is competing against students throughout the world. And thus, I will not lower standards in any way. In fact, I want to raise them in two critical areas. And those two critical areas haven't changed in the last century. And that is reading and math. Reading and math. Reading is just not an academic skill. Reading and comprehension is a life skill that one needs in every phase of life, not just a classroom and on the job. Technology hasn't reduced the need for reading simply because we can now communicate in 140 character bytes. In fact, the various new forms of communication technology have increased the value of reading. And the same is true for math. I cringe every time when I meet a student or adult or a fellow worker who says, you know what, I just don't do math. We can't afford that anymore. We cannot afford that anymore. Everyone must have some basic math skills if they're going to survive in this competitive environment. And that's shameful because I can tell you if we don't have math, our competitors in Singapore and South Korea, China, India, Finland, and nearly every other developing country do math, and they do it very well, and they're doing it better than us. I'm here to tell you right now as governor that the reading and math standards in Common Core are high, relevant, and can be applied internationally. Yet, it can also be applied and implemented here locally in the state of North Carolina. Common Core reading and math standards are good, but we must come together and improve the execution of these Common Core math and reading standards for the betterment of our students and for our teacher. It's not the standards that are bad, it's the execution which must be improved here in North Carolina. And we need to hear from the teachers and principals to figure out what's the best way to execute this goal of reading and math standards. These goals have been set. We must set our sights high. We must not continue to argue over them. We must figure out the best way to implement it and execute them. It's time to tell the world that North Carolina is serious about classroom-based achievement. We must be telling our business community that North Carolina is serious about centers of innovation, high standards that our workforce can be the best educated and most highly skilled. That must be our goal. I know when I'm recruiting businesses, and I'm doing it every single day, there's not a day that I'm not meeting with a business or talking to a business that's interested in our state and coming to our state or expanding our state. And one of the first questions they ask, can I find the qualified employees? And our answer has to be yes, because that's what other governors are telling them. And we have to follow through and prove it. We had a recent company that came here and literally put out a job announcement in 3 different states. It was the first time I've ever heard of this, and I can't tell you what the company is right now. They put a job announcement. It was in a rural area of our state to see what type of applicants they would get if they make the decision to come here to North Carolina. I'm fortunate to say they got a pretty good response, especially in comparison to some of our competition. But it also gave us a signal we have to do much, much better.